What's up, Richard? Timmers here. Here is my Throwback segment where I talk about the films that turns 10, 20, 30, and 40 this week. And we got some good ones. A film celebrating their 10th anniversary is not the second, but the very first Inside Out. Now, obviously, one of the most emotional parts is the Bing Bong scene. Who did not tear up that one? Inside Out, the first film, the second one's good too, but the first film is incredible. It lots of emotions. Seeing like a movie about your emotions, I always thought was an interesting premise for Pixar. I just so highly enjoyed it. It's just really cute, charming. It of course did win Pixar another Oscar, for animated feature. So there's that. I'm definitely excited for a third one whenever they decide to make that. So all right, also turning 10. I actually just rewatched this one yesterday, and it's the movie Dope. Now, Dope is, Dope. Dope, of course, starred, I guess you could say it was the movie that really put Shamik Moore on the map for most people. Obviously, Shamik Moore will go on to voice Miles Morales in the Spider-Verse movies. If you want to see a film that features, Miles Morales, Flash Thompson, and Iris West going to high school together, this is one for you. Because it also features Kirstie Clements, who of course played Iris West in The Flash a few years back. And if you guys don't know much about Dope, it is of course about a high school senior Malcolm and his friends, played by Tony Rivoli and Kirstie Clements, who bond over '90s hip hop culture and their studies and playing music in their band. A chance encounters with a drug dealer named Dom lands Malcolm and company at the dealer's nightclub birthday party. And you also do got some cool cast members like Zoe Kravitz is in this. You had A$AP Rocky, famed rapper Tygas even pops up in this. It is a really good little film. It's directed, I can never pronounce his last name, Rick Famuyiwa. I think that's how you pronounce his name. If that name sounds familiar, he was originally going to direct The Flash at one point, but yeah, things changed with that department. And I think he also directed episodes of The Mandalorian, if I'm not mistaken. So there's that. Dope is just, if you're a fan of '90s hip hop, if you're a fan of coming of age type films, do yourself a favor, give Dope a go. It's a really good one. Very underrated film too, to say the least. Oh yeah, Kimberly Elise was also in this too. Got some cool cast members in this one. Alright, other films turning 10 are more smaller affairs. We got The Overnight, directed by Patrick Brice, who will go on to direct those the movies Creep and Creep 2 and the Creep tapes. This is actually not horror though. It starred the likes of Taylor Schilling, who you might remember from of course, you might know Taylor Schilling from Orange is the New Black fame. You also had Adam Scott, Jason Schwartzman, and this is of course an innocent invitation to a dinner. Turns into a night of seduction and temptation when two couples get together for an evening here, and they decide to think it's time to have couple type fun together. The Overnight is actually a really nice little film. Taylor Schilling's really good. If you want to see a lot of Jason Schwartzman, you'll see a lot of Jason Schwartzman in this, if you know what I mean. But it is a really nice little film worth giving a go. The chemistry between the leads are really good. Definitely give that one a go. Another film turning 10, I kind of want to talk about this one because next year is actually going to be the 10th anniversary of the actor's passing. Also turning 10 is this little movie called Bearing the X. Bearing the X is directed by Joe Dante, who of course you might know directed Gremlins, and he also did Looney Tunes Back in Action and many others. Now, of course, it's also saw Ashley Benson, Ashley Green. Oh no, not Ashley Benson. Ashley Green. Alessandra Daddario, I meant to say. My bad. The kid from what you call Project X is in this, and the late talented Anton Yelchin plays the lead. Here you got Anton Yelchin, who plays horror fan who of course decides to bring his like dead girlfriend comes back to life as a zombie and wants to continue their relationship forever here. It is a really fun little comedy worth giving a go. It is sadly that this movie came out like a he Anton didn't really pass in 2015, but this movie did come out like this the week that he would have passed a year prior, like a year after. Crazily, coming next year will be the 10th anniversary of his passing. I still remember hearing about his passing. I was really shocked because I always thought he was a good actor. I've always liked him in the Star Trek movies. I've always liked him in that. Was that little like coming of age? Yeah, Charlie Bartlett. That was a really nice film. I've always really quite liked him, and it was always such a shame how he passed too. Really heartbreaking, but he was actually really good in this one. Uh, of course, I think one of his last movies will come next year, like the following year, with Star Trek Beyond. It gone way too soon. He was only like 27 when he passed. Really heartbreaking there. But if you guys still haven't never seen Burying the X, it is a really nice little comedy worth giving a go. Alright. Also, now turning 20, we got a couple of Batmans here, because turning 20 years old is the start of the Christian Bale era. Batman Begins. Holy cow, I cannot believe Batman Begins is 20 years old. Because, if you guys don't know, Batman, was I'm just gonna say Batman was dead before this movie came out. Of course, before Batman, begins, it was like DVDs, like animation type stuff, whatever. I'm talking about live action form. There was not a before Batman Begins in 2005. There hasn't been a Batman movie seen on screen since Batman and Robin in 1997, which Batman and Robin really killed the Batman world. Pretty much killed Batman on it was quite some time. And then of course Christopher Nolan came around with Batman Begins. And obviously he had this fresh Christian Bale wasn't a fresh face at the time. Obviously he was coming off of American Psycho, he was coming off of other stuff here and there. This was he really put I guess you could say this movie really put him on the map for more people. Then of course you had Cillian Murphy, who would go on to win an Oscar for Oppenheimer. Crazy fact, he was originally going to be Batman, but instead, obviously Christian Bale got it, and so, of course, they decided to just give Cillian Murphy the villain. Of course, you had, Katie Holmes was in this, Tom Wilkinson. Obviously, we'll go, this will be followed up by The Dark Knight. I feel like, The Dark Knight, I think Batman Begins always gets overshadowed by The Dark Knight, because The Dark Knight is the best out of the three films. But yeah, Batman Begins is where it all started with Christopher Nolan, and it's a really excellent one. Alright. Okay, also turning, other films that turns their big 2-0. We got other films here. We got The Perfect Man, starring Heather Locklear, Hilary Duff. Of course, this was around the time where Hilary Duff was obviously very popular with the teen crowds. Thanks to Lizzie McGuire, thanks to appearing in Cheap by Dozen and her music career and all. So obviously she was trying to take a big break into more films here. And of course, if you guys don't know much about it, it starred Heather Graham, who plays Jean, who goes through a bad breakup, and of course she moves her two daughters elsewhere, and so her eldest daughter, played by Hilary Duff, creates a fake online secret admirer for her mother. And it's a really nice, charming little film worth giving a go. You also had the actor from Law and Order, Chris Noth. I think he also played Mr. Big in Sex and the City, if I'm not mistaken. So you have that. You also had Ben. This was one of Ben Feldman's earliest roles. You might know Ben Feldman as the lead actor from Superstore, and he was one of Jason's first victims in the Friday the 13th remake. He was also in this. It's a really nice. It's not a great film, but it definitely had some fun charm to it. Hilary Duff. I forgot who the young actress who played her little sister name. She was pretty solid. It's a shame that Hilary Duff doesn't like act as maybe because obviously she's taking a step back because she is a mom and whatever, which is cool, or sure. But I would love to see Hilary Duff go back to some of the film business and all. But it is what it is, I guess. All right. Also turning 10 is me and you and everyone we know. Now this is this does star John Hawkes, who plays single dad Richard, who meets Christine, played by Miranda July, who's also the director of this, a starving artist who moonlights as a cabbie, and they awkwardly attempt to start a romance, and but of course Richard's divorce has left him like emotionally damaged here. You also have his like adolescent son, played by Miles Thompson, and 60-year-old Robbie, played by Brandon Radcliffe, take part in their own clumsy experiment here. It is actually a really nice little film here, and it is crazy to believe that Miranda July, after this movie came out, she did not direct another film until the pandemic happened in 2020, and that was that little movie she did with Calgenera, Calgenera, with Evan Richard Wood, Gina Rodriguez. Yep. Crazy to believe she waited like all these years to make another film. Hopefully she'll direct another film down the line. It's actually a really nice little film though. John Hawkes, really great. Miranda July stars and directs. She did a good job. Really good little film here. Alright. Also turning 10. I guess you could say this is like Emily Blunt's breakout role, which was My Summer of Love. This was, of course, directed by I can never pronounce his name too well. Powell Pakowski, and it's based on a 2001 novel here. Of course, it explores a romantic relationship between two young women from like different classes and backgrounds. Working class Mona, played by Natalie Press, who's like once hot-headed brother Phil, played by Patty Constantine, who will go on to star in House of Dragon fame. Become like a born again Christian here, and of course, you got middle class Tamilson, played by Emily Blunt, who suffers from like the lack of love here, and it's actually a really nice little one. This was actually, I guess, say Emily Blunt's like actual film debut. Really, obviously, she would go on to start some bigger stuff like Devil Wears Prada. Obviously, the aforementioned Oppenheimer, and of course, a Smashing Machine. I can't wait to see. So yeah, she was actually pretty good in this one. Patty Constantine was really good. Not a bad little film, to say at least there. All right. There's only one film turning 30 this week, and that is another Batman movie, and that is the awesome Batman Forever. 10 years ago this week, we had a Batman movie, and 20 years ago this week, we had another Batman movie. Times fly there. Of course, Batman Forever, was actually sadly the only Batman movie starring Val Kilmer. Who he isn't my favorite Batman, but I still always quite liked his Batman portray. Of course, you had like Jim Carrey as the Riddler, perfect casting there. Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face. This was, of course, directed by Joe Schumacher, who did a pretty good job, to say the least. It is a really good one, in my opinion. It definitely has some fun moments to it. Some fun action. It's still a really decent one, in my opinion. Of course, you had, Seal's A Kiss from I can't remember the name. A Kiss from a Rose, if I'm not mistaken. A really good soundtrack there. It definitely has some fun moments to it. Nicole Kidman was great in this. You had Drew Barrymore. Obviously, Joe Schumacher will, follow this up with a not so good Batman movie, Batman and Robin. But and R.I.P. Val Kilmer. He was a really good Batman. Like again, he wasn't my favorite. I'll probably say maybe Christian Bale's definitely take the cake, but he was still a pretty good Batman in my opinion. All right. Now, also turning 40 is Return to Oz. This was a long-awaited follow-up to the iconic 1939 film The Wizard of Oz. Of course, you had like Fairuza Balk, who of course will go on to star in like The Craft, Waterboy, and stuff. This was actually her first like acting debut, And of course, here she plays the role of Dorothy. And of course, this is where like is Dorothy returns to the land of Oz. She finally has been conquered by the wicked Gnome King and his accompanist, Princess Mombi. And so Dorothy must like restore Oz with her new friends Belinda, TikTok, and Jack Pumpkin Head, and the Gum. Oh boy, I remember watching this one as a kid. This was weird. I'm like, because Wizard of Oz was always my favorite film of all time. Then when I found out they did a sequel, I'm like, okay, let me check this out. You know, you don't have Dorothy, obviously. Well, you do have Dorothy, but you don't have Judy Garland and all. So I decided to watch this one time as a kid. One of the most weirdest movies I've ever seen. Like seriously, who was this thing for? You know, it's one of the most oddest, weirdest movies of the '80s. This is something A24 would have done today. You know, it's just so odd, so you know, it definitely didn't make any sense at all. I'm like, really, this is what you had done? It's such a weird one. You also had Piper Laurie from Carrie. You know, she was also in this, but yeah, it was not a good one there. All right. Also turning 40 is Cocoon. Who remembers Cocoon? Come on. Of course, directed by Ron Howard, starring Wilford Brimley, Brian Dennehy, Donna Meesh, Jessica Tandy. It follows a group of elderly people who of course, regenerated by aliens here. And, you know, Cocoon is actually a pretty fun one. You know, it's definitely a nice 80s sci fi gem. Brian Dennehy was great in this. Of course, you know, Wilford Brimley, who you might always know from those diabetes commercials. You know, Wilford Brimley was good in this. It is a really decent one, worth giving a go. So, highly recommend that one if you guys haven't seen it. Also turning 40 is Lifeforce. Of course, Lifeforce had like Patrick Stewart. And the film, of course, follows the events that unfolds after a trio of humanoid in a state of suspended animation are brought to Earth after being like discovered in an hold of an alien spaceship here. It's not really memorable. It's not so good. I probably only seen this once, and that's really it. I don't really hardly remember anything about it. Uh, yeah, obviously, you know, they were trying to like, you know, obviously with the likes of Star Wars, E.T. at the time, they were always trying to capitalize on the success of like Star Wars, E.T. and everything, but you never, I don't know, I don't think you could never make lightning strike twice, you know, and yeah, this definitely wasn't it. But that's pretty much it there. Let me ask you guys, which of these films did actually you the most? To me, the 10-year one is actually going to go to, man, I just definitely say Inside Out. Inside Out's amazing. I'm actually not going to go with Inside Out. The one that stands out to me the most a little bit is Dope. If you guys never seen Dope, do yourself a favor. Give Dope a go. Really good film there. 20-year one, I'm going to go with Batman Begins. 30-year one, obviously Batman Forever. And the 40-year one is going to be Cocoon. Anyway, drop comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for notification. This is Sammy Sire.